Hi, my name is Hannah, and I'm going to be walking you through the 7 signs or miracles that Jesus performs in John, specifically chapters 1 through 12. The first one being chapter 2, verse 7, when Jesus turns water to wine. The second sign is in chapter 4, when a royal official appears to Jesus and says, "My son is ill. He's going to die if you don't help him." And then, after Jesus kind of questions his beliefs, he says, "Your son will live," and he does. The third sign or miracle occurs in chapter 5, when Jesus tells a man on the street, "Stand up, take your mat, and walk," and this man is crippled, and he does. The fourth sign occurs in chapter 6, when, with the story that most of us know, Jesus feeds a very large crowd of people with about 5 loaves of bread and a couple fish. The fifth sign, also occurring in chapter 6, is when Jesus' disciples are out in the water and they encounter a large storm, and they're already afraid. And then they see Jesus walking on water, and they're even more afraid. And he says, "Do not be afraid, it is I." And then they make it safely back to land. The sixth sign is in chapter 9, when a blind man who has been blind since birth um, approaches Jesus, and Jesus kind of makes a mixture out of mud and his saliva and rubs it over the blind man's eyes and says, "Go, wash it off." And when he does, he can see, which raises a lot of controversy. People are questioning him, like, were you actually blind, or can Jesus perform these miracles? And then the last one, and one of what a lot of people see as the most powerful sign, is when he raises Lazarus from the dead in chapter 11, about verse 44. Yeah.
So you'll notice at the beginning of chapter 8 is bracketed. Chapter 8 begins with a story about an adulterous woman placed before Jesus by the Pharisees. He ultimately says that if any of you are without sin, let that person be the first person to throw the stone. This story is unique because it's not found in the original manuscripts and was likely added later. Another question that comes up in John is who is the beloved disciple and why they're called that. John is supposed to be the beloved disciple. Of course, there's a lot of ways to read scripture. Some people take it as it was lost in translation, and John is saying, like, wow, I'm so full of sin, yet I'm loved by Jesus. The introduction in this Bible says that the author was most likely an unidentified follower of Jesus and not one of the 12 disciples, and the author became a model believer for the people writing about him, so that's why they call him that. The style in this book is different from the other Gospels because it includes long dialogues from Jesus that include a lot of back and forth between him and the Jews. He explains over and over again his identity and relationship with the Father. And when speaking about his identity, there's a lot of I am statements.
Some of the main points in John chapter 15 through 21 begin with Jesus and the disciples at a Passover meal, and he informs them that he will be returning to the Father very soon, and tells the disciples that he has been preparing them for his departure. At this point, Judas left to betray Jesus. Along the next few chapters, 17, 18, 19, Jesus is found guilty according to the crowd yelling. He is crucified, and he also does have his resurrection occur. And during his resurrection, Mary Magdalene was the first one to visit the tomb where Jesus' body was placed, but then she came across the stone being rolled away and his body was missing. And then finally in chapter 21, Jesus appeared on the shore of the sea and revealed himself, his resurrected self, to Peter as he fished. And then Jesus dined with the disciples, had breakfast with them, and then Jesus did not reveal who betrayed him, which was Judas. And the book ends with a paragraph describing that all said events in John were true.